Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined by James Ashanti. Today, we have a very special guest, NXZN, aka Nick Foreman, joins us on the pod. Welcome, Nick. Thank you for joining us.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me. I known James back in high school. We were at Fordham Prep in 9th grade, and I also used to see him at Ring of Honor shows with the John Cena shirts and the spinner belt. You still have that spinner belt, James?
You know I still have that spinner belt. I don't want to go as far as to say it's a prized possession, but if I had to like rescue something out of a fire, it's definitely like a top 3 thing.
That I can picture you doing that. Can I ask you a question? I know this interview is about me, but let me ask you a question.
Go for it.
Why'd you pick Cena, and why'd you go to Ring of Honor dressed as the most hated man in wrestling at that time?
Oh goodness. Okay. Well, that started because my first Ring of Honor events, I was like 13 years old, and I wasn't smart. I wasn't a smark. I was just a mark, and I loved Cena. And I was like, oh, I'm going to a wrestling event. I know he's not going to be there, but it's my wrestling shirt and I love him. He's my hero. So I go, I bring the gear. I treated it as if it was a WWE live event, and I'm decked out, and I'm getting some weird looks. I'm getting some interesting looks, but I don't think anything of it. I'm 13 and no one's going to act on it. I looked like a 13-year-old. I looked maybe 10. And I go to my next Ring of Honor event, maybe like 6 months later, a year later, and same thing. But now I'm looking a little bit older. Puberty hit. I didn't have this yet, but I had some scruff. So people are like, yo, why would you wear that to Ring of Honor? Why would you wear Cena gear? And I'm like, I like Cena. I hit puberty, but not everything dropped yet. And they were like, well, you shouldn't do that. Not here. So me being a little ball buster that I was like, I'm going to wear it even harder now. And I just kept going. And then I'm getting older, and like they're feeding into it and I'm feeding into it. I'd get booed. I would do like the suck it. I would do the crotch chop. I would, one time I brought a girlfriend, and oh God, that poor girl didn't stand a chance in the crowd. She didn't stand a chance.
I think I was there for the girlfriend. We went to a few shows together. It was actually something of a, where's James? Where's James? My older brother took me to Ring of Honor in what was that, 2008? So that was my first wrestling show. I'd never been to a wrestling show before that, but luckily for me, he had shirts that were, appropriate for the show. I think my first show, I wore like a Jerry Lynn t-shirt or whatever. I don't think he was wrestling that night, but I do know that he was in Ring of Honor, right?
Yeah. Yes, he was.
That was more appropriate than decking myself out in John Cena merch. But
I mean, it worked out. I lived, and I think that's the moral of the story. But did I die? I didn't. I
think it's more important to note that not only did you live, you lived, bro. You actually went to these shows dressed as John Cena, gave everybody "you can't see me" and lived. You got a gimmick. I'm very happy about that. So even though it was kind of like, do I know him? It was like, yeah, I know him. So
and then
look where it landed us.
20 years later, Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor, and now James is all elite. So there you go.
Roundabout way, but I got there.
Small world.
So speaking of gimmicks, how did you get yours, NXZN? Where does that come from? How'd that all come about?
Well, in real life, I've been NXZN since I was 11 years old. I made it up one day. People have been asking me what it means. I haven't been answering them. I take pride in that. It's kind of like, it's not for you to know, not right now. There's going to be a story behind it, but I want to get better equipment. I want to get my physical condition right before I'm going to put out any of the really good stuff. And it's going to get really crazy really fast.
So it's kind of like the CM and CM Punk, where no one really knows what it means anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I think CM Punk, like it started out as something and then it took on something else. I think with this, it's like it's a project of mine. It's a very like detailed passion project actually, because like so often you're questioning whether or not your gimmick is going to work or it's going to hit the mark, and no pun intended. And it's going to be to your own imagination for a little while until you refine it and you make it your own. So countless times you're sitting there going like, is this going to work? So I was really thinking that I should change it, but then I'm like, nah, I'm invested. I have pages upon pages written. So I really feel like it's going to turn out well in the future. It's pretty slow right now. I'm only in the business seriously about like 3 years. So um yeah, I still have plenty of time.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And I gotta say, you were mentioning how you're wanting to upgrade your gear, you're wanting to upgrade your look, and I've known you for a long time, and right now I think you're looking great, man. I think I've seen improvement, and not improvement, not that anything needed to be improved, but I've seen such growth out of you, and it's awesome to see. But more than that, I have to say, we had in big bold letters, because we're professionals here at Mark It Down, that we as we were getting our interview ready, one of the big bold things that we wrote was, his merch is cool. So
It is. It's really cool. I was looking at it while I was looking you up, and I was seriously considering buying something. I really like a lot of that stuff, man.
Bro, you know who designs that? A really cool guy. You might know him. That's me. I design that stuff.
Honestly, that's awesome.
Yeah. I went to college, Hostos in 2011 for digital design. I didn't finish, unfortunately, but like it's not like I don't have the degree, but I didn't accidentally lose the knowledge. You know what I mean? So I'm still very proficient in things like Illustrator, Photoshop, some video editing apps. If you guys are looking to hire, I can trim a mean video. And yeah, my promos, they're edited by me. I'm gonna be a multimedia superstar. I'm calling it now. But thank you for the compliments about the merch. I really appreciate that. Please go ahead and buy whatever you want.
At the end of the video, guys, we'll have a link for anything Nick wants to put out there, and we'll let you know. We'll have that on social media for you.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get all your stuff down in the description below too, so people can go check it out. The one that really caught my eye because it stood out was the NXT 2.0 design, and I was like, have you gotten the cease and desist yet, or
No. I made it obvious that it's a parody. Like the N and the X come directly from the design. You're not gonna believe this, but I make a lot of these designs on my phone. I have the Note 8. I have a stylus. I can draw on my phone. So the only thing is to put it on a shirt, you need to make the quality better. So you need to kind of like scribble on the phone and then transfer it to the computer and then blow it up, make it huge, so that when it's on the shirt and it shrinks, and it will, then you got to make sure that the quality is still good. So I designed that, upgraded it, put it on the computer, put it on a shirt. I know why you like it. It's the one of my designs that has the most color. I'm finding that resonates with people.
yeah, especially compared to a lot of your other shirts, which again I like a lot. It tends to really stand out on the page. Also, thank you, fellow Samsung user. There are dozens of us.
the proud, the Samsung users.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to get the Note 7, but then it started blowing up,
I remember that. I stick with the Galaxy myself.
Our members at the pod, we have a group chat, and one person makes our bubble green. And Nick, thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. I can change the color of my bubbles, so.
Hey, get this. Green's my favorite color, so I actually prefer it to be that way. So I don't like it when people shame people based on the phone that they have, because to be perfectly honest, somebody out there is flashing their iPhone around, and like They're probably struggling a little bit.
Oh, it has nothing to do with phone superiority. I have a 7+. I am decades behind. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with ease and comfort and the fact that I don't like change.
So that says a lot about you, actually. Not about Android, not about iPhone. This is a James problem. He wants you to make things easier for him.
Absolutely. I am the definition of help me, please. I'm old.
I'll even take it a step further. If it wasn't for Hostos and their it seems like Mac only policy, because like a lot of the design computers, a lot of the editing computers, a lot of the sound design computers were all Macs. That's where I got affiliated with my knowledge of Mac and anything Apple, basically. But if it wasn't for that, I would never use an Apple product.
Honestly, I have a Mac just like for the same reason, just so like it's an old one and I just have it to have an extra computer and have a Mac around, but I hate it. And it's slow as hell. But all right, let's I could probably spend the rest of the day talking about UIs with you, but this is a wrestling podcast. So let's get back to the wrestling aspect of it. I was curious just to as to your start. We talked about the start of your character, but how about you getting started like as a wrestler, your training, and like who helped break you into the business?
Okay, nice long story. So even though I've been in the business, I'd say in the independent circuit for the last 3 or so years, my start took place in 2012. So that's like 10 years ago, right?
Give or take.
Right. So yeah, January, February 2012. I remember it like it was yesterday. I have a passion project that I've been very serious about. Been going around to the Bronx to see all my old hangouts and stuff. I'm from the Bronx, born and raised.
Most of us on the pod are.
Yes, right. The Bronx brought us many great things. J-Lo, Yankee Stadium, me. And so I was going around the Bronx and I was, like going to all the old spots that I used to frequent. And I started wrestling in 2012 in, what do they call that gym? Darrow's Extreme Fitness on Close Avenue. And I remember, so and that actually, let's take it even further back. So when I went to Hostos in 2011, I met this dude and he invited me over to his friend's house. I know that sounds a little weird, but he was just like, yeah, a lot of us are getting together for Royal Rumble 2012. This is the origin story, folks. Get it. So Royal Rumble 2012, I go to this friend's house and I meet all of their friends. And I fit in perfectly because we're all wrestling, we're all nerds. And like it was a pay-per-view watching party. Now before that, I'd never done anything like that. I never watched a pay-per-view at anybody's house before, so that was a big moment for me. And we were hanging out and we were talking amongst ourselves, and then it got brought up somehow that my friend from Hostos actually went to the gym that's on Close Avenue and learned how to, like, he was getting trained how to be a wrestler from this guy Bronco. So a lot of them were saying that they were going to go back. They were going to go to that gym and start learning how to train to wrestle. So Bronco's the head of the BWF. So that's what I call that place, the BWF gym. Darrow's Extreme Fitness, Close Avenue. That's where it all started, 2012. Me and these guys used to go there on a weekly basis to hit the ring. Sometimes there would be somebody there to train, sometimes not. When there wasn't anybody there to train, we just freestyled, and no doubt they were the worst matches I've ever had in my life. But that was the appropriate learning experience. I did learn some things from a couple of people. I don't want to name drop, but Bronco was the one who taught me how to strike. There's an obvious language barrier because he's Dominican and he's from the Dominican Republic and he speaks Spanish exclusively and I speak English exclusively. So I have never been able to talk to that guy. But anyway, 2012. Yeah, we were going there on a regular basis and then they started to like up the prices. So we started going less and less. But that's when I started. Yeah.
How would you say that Was that your first taste and you said, okay, this is something I could see myself doing? Or was that, okay, I'm going to do this now?
Actually, a little of both, because I'm sure it's not uncommon for us wrestling fans to have fantasies when we were kids of like coming out to music and beating people up. You know what I mean? Like I was doing that back in grade school. I was picturing myself as a wrestler, and I didn't really think anything of it back then. I just thought that that was weird that I had that little fascination with making an entrance and beating people up. I also got picked on a lot back in grade school. You want a villain origin story? There it is. From second to seventh grade, I was getting picked on every single day. So it only made sense that I was picturing in my head making an entrance and beating these people up. But that love came from wrestling, which I was watching way back when in grade school. Anyway, so when I joined this gym, I was just like, oh, this makes total sense. This is like my destiny. I was born to do this. But then, like they challenge you to like really like dig deep within yourself and like work really hard. So then you have to ask yourself, it's just like, it looked fun on TV. I don't know if I want to do it. So, you juggle with the idea a little bit. I'd say I did. But eventually I decided to keep going and keep it pushing.
And I think earlier you mentioned your love of wrestling comes from your brother.
Yeah, actually, my first match was WrestleMania 2000, the Hardys versus the Dudleys versus Edge and Christian. And I shouldn't say that he recorded it because, he didn't, have permission to, but
I think you're right. I think the statute of limitations has run out.
cool. So I still have the footage. I'm actually looking at it right now. My first match I watched on that VHS tape. And I just remember, that was cool. That was, that was wrestling in the Attitude Era. Mind you, I said WrestleMania 2000. So turn of the century, everything that had already happened. And everything that was happening now is the prime result of the Monday Night War. Wrestling was infinitely cool to me. Didn't have cable, though. Couldn't watch Raw. But I watched SmackDown every week.
The bigger question is, do you still have a VHS player to watch that tape?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Classic.
I take very good care of my hardware. I could plug it in right now just to show off, but I would really rather not.
Sound like me when I moved, I plugged in my VHS player, and because we didn't have the Wi-Fi hooked up yet, I watched Space Jam on VHS.
In case the people watching weren't sure, yes, we're all from the 90s, and we're proud of it.
Fortunately, I can say that I was born in the early 90s, so I was a child all the way up until the turn of the century. But I lived my life with the times. I can honestly say that, a lot of times you wonder if you would have benefited from being born in a different generation. And I have only thought that a little bit because I feel like being born when I has paid off for me.
Love it.
And speaking of the 90s, you got to wrestle Shane Douglas last year. What was that experience like? How awesome was that for you? What wisdom did Shane happen to impart upon you?
It's funny. You were the one that said it, not me. Name drop city, baby. So the franchise, the longest reigning ECW world champion of all time, check your facts. And he was booked against me and my boys in a 6-man tag team match. And he was just the best professional that I've ever worked with because, he wasn't the type of guy, I'm sure things can upset him and things can, drive him crazy a little bit. But at this particular show, there was none of that. It was very chill environment. So let me paint the picture for you. Sandman was also there. So ECW was running wild. This was this was an SWF show, and me and my team were riding hot. So they booked us against the franchise and their partners, his partners, in a 6-man. And the finish was going to be, I was going to go through the table. And I had no problem with that. Franchise was going to put me through a table, perfectly fine with that. What had happened recently, the episode of Dark Side of the Ring with New Jack had just come out, and Sandman was on it, and the guy who got whatever happened, New Jack did to that guy because he tried to call the match, and you know, like, you don't walk up to a vet and try to call the match. So fast forward, I tried to do the same thing. I saw the Dark Side of the Ring episode. Foolishly, I said, here's my idea. And Shane Douglas, perfect professional to talk to about this stuff, because I didn't want to do anything crazy. I actually wanted to make it a point to tell him, I'm not going to, physically challenge you or anything here. I'm going to do what you want me to do. Here's what I think. And, it didn't really like occur to me, like, how about not saying that and letting him tell you? But Shane, Sandman heard this and he was just like, no. You're not going to suggest the finish. We're going to listen to him. And it was a very humbling moment, but, like, I knew he was right. I just wanted to make sure that Shane Douglas knew I wanted him to call the finish, right? I just, like, if there was ever an error in communication there. But Sandman told me to sit back and listen. And Shane Douglas, thankfully, suggested what I had just suggested as the finish. So there was no confusion. We were going to go with what I said, but I guess Sandman wanted to make it seem like it was his idea. And the match went perfectly fine. It was Extreme Rules. There was weapons. There was high spots. All you can ask for from the franchise and more, because he was taking shots with the chair. He was taking shots with the trash can, and he's a legend. He didn't have to sell for us. So the fact that he was selling for us was very, like, gratifying. So I was very happy to take the finish and put him over. He's a legend. I really appreciated working with him. Sorry, I'm long-winded.
No, not at all. That's honestly an incredible story. And I mean, great to hear Shane Douglas, knows how to work with people. In this was last year, so 2021. And Sandman sounds like Sandman being Sandman.
Yeah. I was just meeting both of them for the very first time, so I had no idea that was going to happen. Very happy that it happened to me in that way. I didn't get beat up. I didn't get like, hey, don't talk like that to the legend. Like, nobody called me out like that. So humbling yet gratifying. Just want to put that out there.
Love that.
And Shane Douglas, like, I actually just like for a job interview, you would kind of like research your opponent, leading up to a match. Obviously, I didn't have to do a lot of research, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't know. So I go back and I find out that he's the longest reigning ECW world champion. So I'm just like, boom, already stacked on my resume is a match against former longest reigning ECW world champion. And boom, this guy has tons of shoot interviews talking about the Clique, talking about Shawn Michaels and Triple H and how there was like a lot of stuff, a lot of bad blood between them. I had no idea. That happened in like 94, Dean Douglas. So when I was 1 year old, when I was a baby, he had already been the ECW world champion at that point, right? Before he joined up with WWF and was Dean Douglas. Yeah, so he was already ECW world champion before I was born. So I knew this man had a plethora of experience, especially in the way that he talked. But the shoot interviews, he's talking about, beef with the Clique. You would not collect that from him. He's a legend. He's a veteran. He's definitely, obviously, I don't need to say it because, like I said, he was champion before I was born. He paid his dues. So like all the things that you hear about him, like not getting into the Hall of Fame because he's got beef with Shawn Michaels. It's like, it kind of makes me think that Shawn Michaels may be a little petty.
That's our headline right there.
Clip it. All right, we're done. Let's go. No, but what's it like being in a ring with a guy with that much experience and I don't want to call him old, but like, is it all right? Let me rephrase this.
A veteran.
Is it different wrestling a veteran like that than wrestling somebody a bit younger? It's like you have to go about the match differently, especially in an Extreme Rules match.
Well, the best thing about this match was that it wasn't a lot of like, here's what we're gonna do, because yeah, exactly, it was an Extreme Rules match. It was just like grab a weapon, hit somebody. And we made it a lot of fun for the crowd because we had some spots, you know, a couple of things planned, and, you know, like we kept the intrigue on us. Obviously the intrigue was very on us because this was a special attraction match. So I was beyond a pleasurable experience working with the franchise, because like he didn't like say, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. He was very giving, and he was, you know, like during the match, he was like telling me to, like, you know, lay in some shots, you know, so either like he could get the better of me and we could take it home. And like the way he was selling for me, I felt like $1,000,000. You can trust a person like that, who's been in the business for as long as they have, to give you like the knowledge that you need. And I was standing there giving him my strikes and he was selling for me. So that was a very humbling experience. It was very like effortless, I'd say, working with him. I was very anxious leading up, as I'm sure we all get a little anxious leading up to big moments, right? But, you know, the match went off without a hitch, I'd say. Nobody got hurt.
Also, I went on the record, I was not calling Shane Douglas old. Before he comes after me, like, I was not calling him old. Just want to put that out there.
If Shane Douglas comes at you for calling him old, right? Like then he'll have to come at me too, because I think no, Shane Douglas, I was a little worried, you know, because he was taking these like chair shots, and I'm just like, this guy probably has another booking tomorrow, or this guy probably has another booking next week. You know, like, you know, I wasn't saying like, let's be careful with the legend or anything like that, but like, my first experience working with an ECW legend was not going to be, let me take a chair to him, because I don't want to get any heat for whatever happens after that. Like, there's other people in the match. I can keep myself occupied. I had to finish with Shane Douglas. So that's the benefit of working this particular match. There wasn't a lot to call.
Awesome.
So let's go to one of your more recent matches. Last weekend, you fought the Bosnian Butcher Leo for the EWE Championship. Was that your first title match? And what's it like being in such a high-profile title match?
Well, the EWE Championship title match was actually a rematch. This past Saturday, we had a rematch of our match from June. I think it was June 9th or June 4th. You
picked up that win, I believe.
If you ever get into the business, you'll know that these dates just kind of all seem to start like blending together. They start to sound the same. Like, they're all just numbers, really, these dates. But anyway, incorrect on both accounts. I didn't get the win last Saturday, and I didn't get the win in June. But not my fault.
Apparently, I need to do better research.
No, I know what you saw. I put it up there for people to see that I had the match won. Like, I should be the champion right now. But unfortunately, you can't trust a snake. And that's what Leo is. And Leo and I have been dancing this particular dance for going on like 9 years right now. I met him when I was park wrestling. I did park wrestling briefly for like a year, and I met him like a way long time ago. And that, to say that we were actually able to like turn it into a rivalry in contemporary times, it's like, you know, like we came up together. So like we came through the business together. Like, we took separate paths, but we ended up in the same place. So it was only destiny that I should challenge him for the EWE Championship. And it was only destiny that he played with the rules like he did. So that's why I'm not the EWE champion right now, because that's all he does.
So would you say this was a Bosnian screw job?
Well, that's not what I would say. A lot of the crowd was chanting Bosnian bull. What is the rule for profanity?
You can curse. Go ahead.
Go
Say
for
whatever
it.
the fuck you want.
Bosnian bullshit. Yeah, just really
Bosnian
loud.
bullshit.
Yeah, they were chanting my name really loud. They were chanting that very loud. So it was just a very like, you know, like working the crowd is the part of wrestling that is the most important.
Love that. Love that. And now I'm gonna go a little off script here, but working the crowd definitely seems to be one of your strong suits. Cutting promos definitely seems to be one of your strong suits. I gotta tell you, man, following you on Instagram, following your social media, I loved you went on a huge streak for a while there. I'd say months of your NXZN promos, and I love that, man. I love that is such a one, I love the delivery, and two, I could just see how comfortable you are cutting that promo, man. Cutting those promos. Is there any more comfort doing a pre-scripted promo versus, working the crowd? Like, which do you prefer?
Okay, well, working the crowd, like doing like a on the stick, as they say, promo in the ring. I didn't have a lot of experience with that until very recently. They just decided to give me the ball and let me run with it. And they said, this guy can talk. And I really appreciated that because up until that point, you're talking about confidence. I'm glad that you saw confidence in my face because there was none to speak of. So the fact that you made up this confidence, like I'm glad that I look like I was in the zone because yes, that is the character that I'm trying to play. Yes, I'm trying to give you a show. I'm trying to make you want to buy the ticket. Sorry to like let people in on the wrestling business, but like the promo is basically saying this is why you should come watch the match that I'm about to have. Like how serious I am about telling you that I'm gonna beat his ass. Imagine how much I will actually beat his ass. So at first, that promo, the series of promos that I started with, it is NXZN. I hated those.
This thing, I'm like, dude, that was awesome. I love it. I hated it. I hated it.
I really do. Like, maybe it's because it seems rudimentary. We all have to start somewhere. So more to the origin story. So I started training in 2012. Then, like kind of backwards, I went from training, then I went to park wrestling, which is kind of like you do park wrestling before you start wrestling training. If you like park wrestling, you get into wrestling training. I didn't like park wrestling at all. There's your headline. I was doing park wrestling for however long I was doing it, and I was hating it the whole time. And I was telling myself, I was just like, like, what am I really doing here? Like, I don't want to be here. So I started training in 2012, started doing park wrestling like 2013 to 2015, here and there. And then I got really serious about in-ring training 2015, cut cold turkey park wrestling off. Never needed it, didn't want it. I was ashamed that I did it for so long. And now I'm, training. This is 2015. I had like 4 matches in 2015, 2016. And then I took like a really long undeserved break in 2017 and 2018. And then it was 2019, I believe, when my friend shares this post about a tryout that's happening in Jersey. So I live in Jersey now, and I'm just like, oh, cool. I used to be a wrestler in 2016. Maybe I should try out. So I asked my then girlfriend, who is now my wife, I asked her if she could take me down there, and she's just like, that's a far ways away. So I didn't realize how big New Jersey was. She still said that she would take me. So it all happened because of that post on that particular day and the fact that she was willing to take me to the tryout in South Jersey, which is a million miles away. And Abyss was there that day. I got to have a tryout match in front of Abyss. It didn't go so well, but it was a little like startling. Like I was just like wrestling like here and now, like think nothing of it shows. And now I'm at a tryout and Abyss is here. So that was the SWF tryout. And I really, that's when it like started picking up steam.
Gotcha. And I know we talked about it a little bit before we the interview officially started, but ever since moving to Jersey, it seems things have been picking up a lot for you.
Yes, it started, like as a Bronx boy, I was like very tentative to leave my home. Like a little bit of tragic backstory. I'm from the shelter system. So when I was on my journey in the Bronx the other day, just looking at the old places that I've been to, there was a lot of like rundown places that I come from. And then I meet this woman, this beautiful woman, and we start talking it up. And then she tells me she's from Jersey. And not to say I didn't believe her, but it was just like, okay, what does that mean? So we were talking. I was in college. I went one more semester in Hostos, 2015. So I met her in 2015 while I was at Hostos. She was dorming in school in Queens. So then when we started talking, we started getting to know each other. She said that she lives in Jersey. So then when she graduated, she actually, I almost knocked my thing over. Okay. She was going to school. When she graduated, she said she was going to leave for Jersey. I said, oh, that sucks. I was very bummed out. So then eventually it came to be, I was going out to Jersey a lot more. And then eventually I started living out here. So it actually paid off really, because then that's when I got the notification that there was going to be a tryout in Jersey. And I'm just like, what luck, I'm actually in Jersey. So then progressing forward, it seems that New York wrestling is very like, not to say exclusive, but it's kind of like very cutthroat. New York is Vince wrestling territory. Anybody who wrestles in New York has to pay a lot of money to set up a show. So they're not just letting anybody on the card. Now, Jersey, on the other hand, I don't think that they have like a state athletic commission or whatever. So really, I think they can just let anybody on the show. They let anybody set up a show in Jersey. And, like that's actually true to life, because people are doing that right now, where they're kind of like creating their own show. They're just like, you know what? I didn't make it as a wrestler, so I think I'm going to try my hand at being a promoter. So then they try and put on a show. And Jersey, there's no rules. You can put on a show. All you need is an entrance set up, some lights, some smoke, a ring, obviously, and a bunch of chairs.
Love it. Love
right?
it.
Yeah.
Now,
Wait, just one more thing.
no, please go say 5 more things. Go for it.
One thing. Jersey books me. Like, just as I said, like, like they don't have like, like this selected exclusivity, right? Jersey books me. New York is kind of stingy. That's all I'll say.
Gotcha. Well, you're not going to hear me say a bad thing about New York, but I'm very happy you found love in Jersey, and you're finding a new love for wrestling in Jersey, and wrestling's finding its love for you in Jersey. I'm happy to hear that, man. And you talked about it. You talked about this beautiful woman, and you're now a married man, and I congratulated you before, and I'm going to congratulate you again. I'm very happy for you. And I have to ask, what is it like being a married man pursuing the dream as an independent wrestler? Does it change your motivations? Does it strengthen your motivations? Clearly she has support for you. She took you to that tryout, but tell, if you don't mind, what's her role in your wrestling life?
So a big role in my wrestling life. Like, obviously I would never have been at that tryout if I wasn't in Jersey. So strategic placing for one, that was luck of the draw. Like if I hadn't met her, like it's a domino effect. So yeah, she took me to the tryout, like, and I have to specify that she took me because as a native New Yorker, maybe I don't need to tell you guys, but I'll tell the people that listen, I didn't drive. And I didn't learn how to drive until I started taking, living in Jersey seriously. And she taught me how to drive. And I'm proud to say that as of March, I'm officially a licensed driver. That's this past March.
Woo! What can't you do?
Well, drive for a long time. I am a heck of a scooter rider, but I am no driver. The difference is, she's been in this town in Jersey for pretty much her whole life. And in Jersey, things are far away. So you need to learn how to drive. So she's been driving since 18. And I really appreciate that she took the time to actually like mentor me and tutor me, because I'm not the easiest person to deal with. Um, kind of, kind of definitely sure she can hear me, but maybe she's not listening on purpose. Um, Anyway, so yeah, she took me to that show and she's taken me to several shows since, because like I just said, I only recently got my driver's license this past March. So I've only been a licensed driver for about 4 months right now. So she takes me to my shows when they're far too far, especially the one that I have that I go to pretty much every month, which is in Media, Pennsylvania at ACPW. We make it a habit to go out there for the show once a month or however often they are. And after the show, we get Philly cheesesteaks.
Love it.
Nice.
Living the dream. Living the dream, pal.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to touch on a bit further. So yeah, being married, I'm 28. I'm very young. I know I still have a lot of time ahead of me in my wrestling career. That doesn't mean I should slow down. In fact, it means I should speed up. But I'm a young man who's married and he's living in New Jersey now, a Bronx boy at that, living in New Jersey. Like my entire life has changed in the course of the last few years. Unfortunately, some of it was brought upon by tragedy. Like, for instance, it's kind of a domino effect, actually. My grandmother passed away in 2017. At that time, me and my family were living at her house. She was the person who was on the lease. So because she passed away, we had to scatter. And because I was in a relationship with this beautiful woman at that time, she was just like, let me ask my mom if you can come stay here. And I'm infinitely grateful. Like I said, luck of the draw. And that's when I started officially living in Jersey. But then, unfortunately, her mother passed away in 2019. So we had to get a place on our own together. And we moved in together in her hometown in 2020 in January. So the very beginning of the pandemic at that. So, yeah, now I am, not to say financially independent, like I still definitely need her to pay half the rent. But yeah, like no, compared to where I was from the Bronx, like didn't have anything growing up. Money was a luxury. Money is still a luxury, obviously, but I have more of it now. I have a job, a stable job. I have a wife. I have half an apartment, as in we share an apartment together here in New Jersey. And yeah, like times have definitely changed. I'm not the same guy that you knew in high school. My hair is a little shorter than it was back then.
Mine's a little bit thinner. Mine's a little bit thinner, so I feel you.
You don't get no sympathy from me, buddy boy. Everybody got to go through it, I guess, at a time in their life. Some of us go through it early. I did it at 21. I decided to make the big cuts, just to keep it even. Let it grow back a little bit. It looked horrible. I was obviously balding. So, true story, job interview. I shaved my beard and not my head. And then I get the job and then my beard is growing back. My head, the hair is just looking all types of crazy. And then they axed me from that job. That was a security job because I was on my phone too much. I'm a creative dude. I need to be on my phone. Anyway, they cut me from that job. So I got a different interview. Same security company sent me on an interview one day. My beard was a little thick. And this guy tells me, oh, you have to be fully shaven for your post. Now, this was at a time when I was just getting into wrestling. So I wanted my beard back. Just getting back into wrestling, I should say, I think. And he also had a full beard. So screw him for saying that I should shave when he had a full beard. Anyway, then I went on a different interview with a different security company, decided to cut my hair, as in shave it completely bald and keep the beard, went in for the interview, got the job. They've never asked me to shave since. I'm really digging this hairstyle gimmick.
Oh, I'm loving it, man. I remember long-haired you. You know, like I said, I've been on this journey. Like I've been on the sidelines watching you for a long time, and long-haired you, man, how great would that have been for a hair versus hair match?
Oh, that was always my intention. If I was ever going to cut my hair, I was going to lose it in a match. You know, like everybody knew me. Everybody that knew me knew that I loved my hair. So me losing it in a hair versus hair match would have just been poetic. But when I was 21, it was time to go. My hair was just, it was not in a great place. Like it was just, I know I had like split ends at least, you know, like I wasn't like, you know, like into like treating my hair, you know, it was just hair to me at that point. Like that hair had been growing on my head at that point for 7 years. So then when it started thinning and, you know, I got a bald spot, I didn't really even notice the bald spot until I look back on the park wrestling footage and you see my big old bald spot. And I'm just like, I should have cut my hair a long time ago.
Well, I mean, it seems now like you were ahead of the curve because there are certain wrestlers who did not, on the professional stage, who did not really follow your lead fast enough. You know, I don't want to name drop anybody, but there were certain people who were holding on just a little too long. One of them might have been called Petty earlier in this podcast.
Here's the thing. Especially during those park wrestling days, I was holding on. That was my pride and joy was my hair, you know, long locks, you know, like I was gonna make it in the business off the strength of my hair, but I didn't have any plans to cut it when I was thinking about being a wrestler because I was just like, I need my hair, I need my cape, I need my long my coattails. I need to be like, you know, a stereotypical bad guy or a really badass superhero. You know what I mean? I didn't think I could pull off bald. Unfortunately, God made that decision for me. He must have been mad because Vince McMahon beat him in that match.
Yeah, you know what? I think all these years later, I think God is winning now. I think God's getting his revenge.
No, never that. No, actually, 2019 went to California. I saw a rock formation. Somebody carved in "God is here" or "God was here" or something like that. And I did a hard style, and I was just like, I've been waiting for that motherfucker. You tell him, you tell him I'm here.
Oh man.
Me and G got beef.
Well, I think that's a good time to transition. Nick, you were up. Well, Rev, you were up.
Well, yeah, good time to transition to. It seems to me, at least from what I've seen from you, do play the heel more often than not during your matches. So, what led you to want to be heel? Do you enjoy just fucking with people? And do you ever see yourself turning face at any point?
Truer words have never been spoken. I do enjoy fucking with people. Maybe it has its roots in my tragic backstory with all the picking on. But I think I always, in my vision, you know, like as a youth, my vision, I was always accounting for myself as the good guy. I was also like 25-time world champion, you know, like no small feat, but I pulled it off. And when I joined up, it was just like, you need somebody to play the bad guy. And it's actually just like kind of fun, honestly. You get to like, not to say fulfill your darkest fantasies or anything like that, but like, you know, you get to say things that normally, you know, like you don't get to say those things. So you get to pick fights with people. You get to like, you know, unless you're like a naturally effusive person, which I'm not, this is my outlet. This is me putting on the gimmick and being mean for the sake of putting on the gimmick and being mean and having fun.
It does almost sound though, after that title match last weekend, you were getting some face reactions though, considering you got fucked over.
Sorry, yes, you were asking if I was ever going to turn face. I think I already have, but and I hate to toot my own horn and talk myself up, but I'm pulling off the tweener gimmick where it's kind of like you don't really know if you want to root for me but you have no choice because I'm just like so damn good and I'm getting screwed over so damn frequently. Like you have to cheer for me at that point, even though, you know, you might not agree with my tactics, but you know, Eddie Guerrero cheated to win. Sometimes I play around with the rules a little bit, you know, and people cheer for that on certain occasions, especially in today's day and age. The heel is not the bad guy anymore. The heel is just the deplorable character of questionable moral. And if you want to be a good guy and still a heel, totally possible. So I'm doing that right now. Me versus Leo, I was more the good guy, but in my tag team in ACPW in media, we're also good guys, just off the strength that we were ass kicking bad guys. And then we got together and people started cheering us. It's kind of like, you know, like, what did we just see? What did we just see? And, you know, like now we're good guys.
So you bring up your tag team, Stranger Than Fiction. Do you prefer tag team wrestling, or how do you feel between that and singles matches?
Absolutely not. I didn't want to cut you off, but yeah, absolutely not. I don't prefer tag team wrestling at all. And you know, sorry to ACPW and Stranger Than Fiction. Sorry to Marty. NXZN has always been a singles act. The story is not about how well I can team with others. The story is about me and my journey. I'll give you guys a taste. We're gonna find out what NXZN really means. That's why it gets a little crazy. So there's your headline. But yeah, when I was asked to join the team in ACPW, I was kind of just like, fine, whatever, I'll join. And I kind of started to make it work a little bit, you know, like not trying to toot my own horn, not trying to like talk up my strengths or anything, but I did make the tag team work, even though I thought it was a waste of my time. And I said, you give me this challenge, I'm going to knock it out of the park. People love this tag team. I suggested they turn us face. Boom, knocked it right out of the park. Honestly, having a little bit of fun with it, not going to lie to you. I never thought I'd be much for tag team wrestling, but you do have to learn every style of match. So, like, I think tag team at a point was not my strong suit, not my specialty. I'm comfortable doing the whole match one-on-one, you know, just me and another person. But in tag team wrestling, you got to account for multiple people and you got to account for what you could be doing when you're not supposed to be doing anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and now you get to show off once again your single skills at ACPW this weekend for the Independence Cup. You got a first round match against Johnny O Saturday, July 16th. What are you looking forward to in this tournament? I think you're the number one seed, if I saw that correctly on one of the promotional posters. And so, and what does being the number one seed mean to you?
I think I am the number one seed. I don't know for sure though. And
I saw number one next to your name somewhere on one of those posters. So in my book, you're the number one seed now.
in my humble opinion, that's very flattering. Let's just say I hadn't noticed. But if there's any truth to it, like if there's any like reality to like why the seeds were numbered the way that they were, clearly I have merit in ACPW. Other promotions, you know, you start to stumble a little bit. You know, you get your debut match, you know, more often than not, they're going to put you against somebody who's been there longer so they can teach you some things. And I didn't win a lot when I was wrestling at the BWF in 2019. And overall in SWF and the other promotions that I've been at in New Jersey, my losses far outweigh my victories. But in ACPW, I was on a win streak from my first win all the way to my 6th or 7th, I believe. And it ended in a draw. My undefeated streak ended in a draw with my tag team partner. So, oof. Yeah, me and him, like, you know, like we're cool right now as it pertains to the tag team wrestling. Like we really have a problem with these guys fully loaded. And they're also in the tournament. Now, my partner, Marty, would not have been in the tournament otherwise, if it was supposed to be originally Eli Newgate, who I lost to at the last ACPW show in April, because he put his feet on the ropes like a jackass.
Man, you are getting screwed left and right.
better believe it. Can't beat me, don't try. But kudos to him. I would have done the same thing. Eli Newgate beat NXZN. Now Eli Newgate was supposed to face Devontae's, but Devontae's pulled out, and now in his place is my tag team partner Marty. So Marty can exact revenge on my behalf. I, on the other hand, am looking forward to, that's what you asked me before, I'm looking forward to facing Johnny O, the Delco Dragon. You know, let me just say something to Johnny O right now. You know, where I'm from, they call me the Dragon. So you're not making it out of this tournament. Anyway, Johnny O and I have never fought before, but if I beat him, then I move on to face the winner of the match between TJ Reno versus Zach Ravix. And those are two members of Fully Loaded. So the fact that they're having a match against each other, I don't know what kind of weird bullshit they're going to pull. But if TJ Reno beats his lackey in Zach Ravix, and then I beat Johnny O, then it's going to be me versus TJ Reno, who is coincidentally the United States champion, a belt that I've had my eye on for quite some time in ACPW. So first things first, put down the Delco Dragon, and then hopefully I get to see Mr. TJ Reno in the second round. And when I put him down too, then not only will I be one step closer to winning the Independence Cup, but then my name will be in the hat for a United States Championship match. And then obviously I want to win the tournament. So after I beat both those guys, then I'm going to have a final round match. And in a perfect world, it's going to be NXZN versus Marty Emmerich, Stranger Than Fiction versus Stranger Than Fiction in the finals. And, you know, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, or I'm not going to put any ideas in anybody's head, but I might be a little ticked off about how my undefeated streak ended in a draw to the man that would become my tag team partner. Now, you know, like we've gotten cordial with each other, but you know, something about that doesn't sit well with me. Maybe I need to get my win back. Maybe I need to right this wrong. And in doing so, winning the Independence Cup, becoming the #1 contender for the World Championship, and facing Ty Reno and getting my revenge for the loss that I took to Ty Reno in September, and winning the ACPW Championship. But those are all short-term goals. Long-term, I want to be a legend. So I'm going to do all that and more.
Wow, it feels like this tournament, like there is so much room for story for you. That's going to be quite the night, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm the quintessential talent in this tournament. You know, no disrespect to any of the other fantastic talent we have in the tournament, but people are coming to see me. And that's why it's easy to be a bad guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've seen a lot, you know, including your merch and on your Instagram page. You are the workhorse of ACPW. Now, is that something you dubbed yourself, or did somebody give you that nickname?
Actually, this is one of those rare occurrences where I didn't give myself a fantastic and creative sounding nickname. And I have dozens, literally dozens of creative and fun nicknames that I've given myself, and, you know, a few that my friends have given me. But in ACPW, the commentator, Rotten Ryan Harb, he was the one that called me the workhorse, because ever since I've been in ACPW, I'm sometimes wrestling 2 matches a night. You know, that's just another day in the office for me. So he took note of that, and he wanted to tell people when they watch me, you know, like, you know, keep your eye on this guy. He's putting in the work. So I appreciate him for that, for telling people about what I'm all about, because I wouldn't have done it myself. I don't know if that's the word I would have chosen, but it kind of suits me, don't you think?
I love it. I love it for you. I love it for you. And hopefully more companies will recognize your work rate.
Hopefully. I think I have a very similar style to a lot of legends. You know, like a very like ground mentality, you know, submission based wrestling, you know, like that's the kind of like wrestling that was popular before independent style before all the flips and shit. So I was actually just saying this over the weekend to one of the up and coming talents backstage in the locker room. They were looking to me for advice, which I was very humbled. I didn't think that I had made it to a point where they could ask me for advice yet, but I gave it anyway. So backstage, this guy was asking me, like if, he and I would have a match someday. And I was just like, absolutely. I see you. I see the type of work you're doing. And I know that we have different styles, but that's going to make the match so much better. Cause my style, I can do a couple of things, but where I can't do certain things, you can. So we mesh well in that regard. So it was cool that he asked me for advice. Like I said, I don't think I made it to a place where I could give him advice, but he was the one who made me feel like, like my style is actually being taken note of.
I love that. I'm loving that, I know you keep saying that you're not really feeling the confidence, but it's there. It's there, and I'm appreciating that others are starting to recognize it too. So good for you, man.
I'm actually also happy about that as well, because honestly, we were talking about my oldest promos, 2019, cutting those really, I've heard the word robotic used to describe those promos. I agree wholeheartedly. The confidence is getting better. I have a saying, it's kind of like a bullshit philosophy that I live by. False confidence is true confidence. And you have to say it like that every single time. So false confidence is true confidence in the sense that, like you have to actually like tell yourself, even if you don't believe it, that you could do it, because otherwise you don't stand a chance. So I think I've been taking that philosophy to mind when I'm doing these promos, and I actually start like going whole hog into the character and being like, like there's no reason to come this far just to give it half, like go into it, and it's really easy for me because I'm very argumentative to like pick a talking point, harbor in on that talking point, and really like get like really passionate about it, like get mad about it, especially like super suddenly. Like you could give me, I could say right now, the time, a place, time, a date, a place, and a reason, and the name of my opponent, and I can cut you a promo right now.
Is that a challenge?
Yeah,
is that a challenge?
Yes, I'm asking you, give me a date, the place. We're playing like Mad Libs right now. I'm like, all right, give me the date of the show, give me the place that it's going to happen or the venue, give me the reason, and I'll convince you that I'm mad enough about it to actually want to take this person on.
Go for it, Rev.
Well, I was going to say, would you like to call out your opponent for this weekend, Johnny O?
Absolutely.
Go for it. Johnny O this weekend for the Independence Cup.
First round.
Johnny O, you're making a big mistake stepping in the ring with me this weekend. For the Independence Cup, I'm willing to decimate you in ways that you will never recover from. And when it is all said and done, everybody will look back on this moment, the moment that you made the mistake of stepping in the ring with me, as the biggest mistake of your life. Everybody will look back on this moment and remember you were an idiot that day for deciding to step into the ring with me. It could have been easy for you. You could have walked away, but no, you decided you wanted guts. You wanted glory. I gave you guts all over the mat. They were yours. Now pick them up and get the hell out of my ring, because I have a tournament to win.
Nicely done, sir. Nicely done. I fear for Johnny O's life now.
As you should. I'm going to stretch him like a pretzel. Are there any moves that you guys would like to see in the match? I do this sometimes, a little known secret, lesser known secret rather. Sometimes I'll ask for suggestions from the audience, not the literal audience, but like, people that I know will watch my match. I'll ask you, what moves do you like to see on TV? And I'll do your favorite TV move on the independent scene.
Well, but before we get into a move that we want to see, why don't you go over what your finish is?
Okay, certainly. So NXZN's finisher is the Death Wish pile driver. It's a standard pile driver, sometimes delivered in very quick fashion. The pile driver gets a lot of flack because, it's a very like hit or miss finishing move. I've always loved the pile driver. It's the best finishing move of all time, in my opinion. Hands down, should win every match. But now people are using it like a regular move. That's a hang up that I have about people using other people's finishing moves as regular moves. But I have a couple of signature moves that are not quite finishers. They won't quite end the match, but they're definitely for me to lead up into my next thing. And that's the Debray knee, or the Busaiku knee, or the Psycho drive, or whatever you want to call it, the running knee. I call it the high knee because whenever anybody else does it, it's just a regular knee. That's a good way to finish a match. And then there's this elbow that I do to the back of the head. I used to call it the DUI, the death upon impact, but I thought that name sounded a little cheesy. So I still do the move. I don't really have a name for it, but if they're sitting down in front of me in the center of the ring and I see them and I lock eyes with the back of their head, I hit them with my elbow. Wow. That's a game changer.
Love it.
I saw you hit the Psycho knee and doing my research on you. It's a very clean move. You do that really, really well. So I definitely want to see you get at least one of those in there.
I was gonna say that was the move. I didn't want to say it because I know it's the signature, but man, I want a Busaiku knee.
I will do you gentlemen one step up. I will see your suggestion, both of you having the same suggestion. You would think I would do the same move one time because it's the same move. No, I'm going to elevate my game. I'm going to use the same move twice.
Oof.
Because it is the Independence Cup, and that means that I am ensuring victory in the first round, moving on to the second round, hitting the knee on whoever I face.
Love it. Love it. Very excited for you. Very hopeful for you. And it's okay. Nick, go ahead.
I do want to get one more story in before we go. We were talking about this before we started, that you called a match over the phone the other day and you brought out your whiteboard for us. So if you could tell us the story and please show the audience this whiteboard. It looks amazing, and it's one of the cooler things I've seen in doing this job so far. You
really know how to give a guy a big head. Calling a match. Now, I wouldn't define myself as a spot monkey, but I feel like it's like better to go over the entire match start to finish with your opponent before the match, leaving space for error, obviously, like, plan ahead, plan to do more than you actually do. So, even if you guys don't do a lot of it, you still have more for the next match, should there be one. But my opponent for last Saturday, we talked it out over the phone. He called me the day before the match. Very responsible of him, because I was willing to wait it out and just show up on the day of and talk about it with him there. Had a couple ideas in my head. Didn't really write anything. Excuse me. Didn't really write anything down. But then he calls me, and then he's, we're talking through the whole match. And eventually I'm just like, hold up, let me get my dry erase board. And so here it is. I wrote the whole match out, including my pre-match promo and the finish, which was a dirty finish. He hit me with a title belt and a low blow. Really hit me with the old the old down up. So using the dry erase board, that's not like a regular occurrence for me. Sometimes, most times, if I'm going to write it down, I'm going to use the notes app on my phone. But otherwise, sometimes, you just call the match and you're just like confident in your ability to feel the match when you're in the ring. So like most times I'm calling the match ahead of time with the intention of seeing how it's going to play out, so that my body can subconsciously make the movements.
Interesting. Very interesting.
That's, you know, that's what they don't tell you about what they're doing when they're teaching you to wrestle. Like they're making sure like your body understands, like ring awareness is such a broad term. Like that just means like how far away you are from the ropes, like how close you are to the center. You always want to be in the middle of the ring. You always want to be looking at hard cam. You always want to be mindful of, you know, like your communication. You always want to be et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when they train you to wrestle, they're training your body to know what the motions are when you're not fully there, because you might be focused or thinking about something else. You might be like, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? Or you might be dealing with a situation that's happening on the fly, like a fan jumps over the barricade. You could forget your whole match in an instant because a fan jumped over the barricade and be like, there goes my whole concentration. So I find it's helpful to write it down and go through it. And then when I get in the ring, using my memory, using what I memorized from the list of things to do, I can tell my body to, you know, do it, like execute attack plan A.
Yeah, so like it's like a lot of muscle memory that allows you to just kind of run through everything mentally, like while you're doing it at the same time, kind of, so you can stay a step ahead of where you actually are.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm trying to see my way through to the end of the match. Another thing that they don't tell you about what they're teaching you to do when they're teaching you how to wrestle is they're teaching your body to conserve the energy that you need to make it all the way through the end. Because one thing you don't want is to pass out in the middle of a match. You don't want to be on the mat and you can't get up, because then it's just like these people came to watch you. You need to wrestle. A lot of things that you just can't do, you can't be comfortable doing, so you kind of like challenge yourself to actually like overcome these things before you start actually wrestling. So like one of the first things, and you know, like it's the worst thing about wrestling, is they're going to blow you up on purpose in training. They're going to make you run laps, run the ropes, do this drill, do a million rolls, get yourself dizzy. I have horrible veloxerotophobia, so I get dizzy really easily. So I hate these drills. Anyway, so I'm doing these drills and I'm getting blown up. And I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now, that that was important for me, because they're going to teach you how to wrestle for when you're tired, so that you can make it to the end of the match.
It's kind of reminding me of that scene in Semi-Pro where Woody Harrelson makes them run all the play until they all puke. It's kind of like that, where when you're completely exhausted and you can't remember anything, you're still going to remember how to do that.
Bingo. Absolutely. That's 100%, I think, exactly what he was doing, making the guy tired so that, you know, like his body will be like, okay, if I'm going to do nothing else, I'm going to do this one thing. It'll be the last thing that I do.
Love it.
That's great. Well, James, you got anything?
Well, no, just, yeah, before we go, I know we've been wrapping up for a while now, but we're having so much fun with you. You mentioned it before. You want to become a legend in this business. That's a great long-term goal. And, you know, we have the short term this coming week in the tournament, but what are some more not out there goals, but what are some further down the line goals that you have for your career? You know, are you looking to make it into the big guys at some point? Are you happy on the indies? And, you know, what is your ideal? What would you like for your future?
You mean to ask me, do I want to get into the Stephanie McMahon's WWE? I mean, absolutely. Like, you know, like when I was a child, the fantasies were about glitz and glamour. But I think nowadays the practicality is set in. Like, this is a job. I want to make money from this. I want to live comfortably. I want to be a big shot. But I don't think that I'm going to lose my way if I ever get that far, because I have very humble beginnings. You know, like I said, I was a shelter kid. So the long-term goal is being a legend. You know, like we touched on it before, my digital design prowess. I want to design better gear for myself, because I do technically currently design my own gear, tights and and t-shirts. I design my tights and my t-shirts. I want to get better at those designs so that the designs will elevate my look and elevate my character accordingly. I'm a musician. I don't know if I mentioned that.
No.
Another of my many innumerable facets. I actually play two instruments. I play the guitar and I play drums. I know you're blown away. I'm very I'm successful in the making. Like I'm not rich, but I'm rich in knowledge. You know what I mean? So anyway, the designs on my gear are going to get better. The music, I'm going to come out to my own music someday. That's going to be a goal of mine. People tell me, people who don't know a lot about the business like to tell me that I should start my own company. And I tell them, like, that's not the kind of mindset that you need to have to be successful. Challenge the mainstream in order to try and like cut off my own slice in the hopes that it'll feed me for the rest of my life. No, I'll join up with the system. I want to be in AEW. Currently, I want to be in AEW. Long term, I want to be in WWE. I feel like no matter which order you put them in, one is the stepping stone to the other, because they'll book former NXT people in AEW and they'll book former AEW people in NXT. So it's like, I want my character to be better. I want my in-ring work to be better. I want my physical fitness to be better. Now, let me tell you something about my character. Another one of my many innumerable facets, I'm a writer as well. So, as it stands, which one of you asked the question, what can't I do? The answer, nothing. Literally nothing. There you go, James. Nothing. So I'm a writer, so it's very obvious that I'm eloquent and long-winded, but I'm trying to refine the character, tune the knobs a little bit to try and make it so that it hits all the points that I want it to. And, and obviously that it maintains its like personability. Like I want people to think that they can watch me and that they can relate to me. So it's going to be a crazy story, but it can't be too far out. So like I said, I'm a writer, got to fine tune it a little bit. All the stuff that I can do for my own character and things that I can do for other people's characters. Like I said, I do design work. I can do freelance designs. I do music work. I can do freelance music. I got a great camera. I can do freelance photography. I got a green screen with some lights in the setup at my house. I'm essentially a one-man multimedia factory at this point.
Yeah, I can tell. That's a lot of cool stuff, because I think that gives you a lot of control over your own character. And instead of having to go somewhere else, you can just do it all yourself and really control every little facet of what you're doing. But Nick, this has been great. It's been a lot of fun. Before we get you out of here, we want to make sure you can promote whatever you need to promote. Tell us where we can find NXZN, find all that really nice merch, and please once again promote the Independence Cup for this weekend, because we want to know where we could watch you win this tournament and get your eventual shot at that U.S. championship.
The U.S. championship is a short-term goal of mine. The long-term goal for the Independence Cup, the winner of the Independence Cup gets a shot at the world champion. So that's what I'm gunning for. I'm going to beat the U.S. champion on my way to getting my shot at the world champion. So
why not both titles? Take both.
Exactly. Aim for the stars. You'll end up hitting the clouds at least. So that's Independence Cup. That's this Saturday, July 16th, Media, Pennsylvania, at the Media Community Center. I've got the link to the tickets on my Facebook page. My Facebook page is facebook.com/NXZN official. NXZN, just like me, and official. So, it's the actual me. Instagram, my handle is NXZN official. Twitter, NXZN official. That's just my wrestling character. I've got pages for music. Mostly you can find it by typing NXZN music. I'm a very simple guy to find, it seems. The designs, my freelance designs, come to me with some inquiries for a logo and perhaps design your tights NXZN Designs. That was music, designs, wrestling. I got a gaming channel, but I'm a little slow to put stuff on that. That's my Instagram, NXZN Gaming. So as you can see, there's a bit of a pattern here. Oh, and one more. My merch can be found by typing in nxznofficial.creator-spring.com. I know it's ridiculous. It's a long, wordy URL, but I had no say in it. So,
Well, we'll be sure to get links to all that in the YouTube description. So if you want to check out any of NXZN stuff, you can look in the description and go straight there. Also, I'm pretty sure your merch page is on your Instagram account, so people can do that too. And there's something for everybody, guys. So please go check NXZN out, whether it's wrestling or otherwise. Nick, this was so much fun again. Thank you so much for joining us. It was great to have you.
thank you, boys. I really appreciate you guys asking me all these very intrusive questions. James, it's been so long. Hopefully we can hang out soon. Nick, a pleasure to meet somebody of a similar name. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate what you're doing here. Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.
It was like I said, great to have you, and good luck this weekend and for the rest of your career. So for James Asante, my name is Nick Cummings. Be sure to like, subscribe. Oh, Nick, you didn't know this. If we get to 100 subscribers, James has to rap and dye his beard green. So
I'm going to share the shit out of this podcast. You are going to be dyeing your beard green.
Please. This is, oh God, my life. I don't know what happened to my life, but here we are.
Danny happened to your life.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, one closing thing. I don't know what happened in your life, but once upon a time, I made a bet to myself that I could score 10 goals in Rocket League in a single match in a one-on-one. And for every time I did it, I had to take a shot of Bacardi 151.
Jesus.
And I did it 2 times in a row. And I said, well, I guess I got to do it twice then.
That sounds like the perfect story to end on. So, like I said, like, subscribe. Not only will Nick's stuff be in the description below, but all of our social media links will be there as well. So, like I said, for James Asante and special guest NXZN Nick Foreman, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you next time here on the Market Down Podcast. Have a good one, everyone.